Your AC just started blowing warm air. In July, at 95 degrees, right now thousands of Americans are pulling into an auto shop and hearing the same 4 words: your compressor is shot. Quote, $1,500. Here's what most of them never find out. In the majority of these cases, the compressor was never the problem. It was a $5 leak. I'm Auto Care Lab, and every week I take apart what shops don't want you to know. So if you haven't subscribed yet, this is exactly the kind of thing you'll want to catch next time. Today, which $5 AC recharge kits actually fix this? Which ones make it worse? And the 90-second test that tells you the difference before you spend a dime. Real quick, here's the one fact you need before we start. Your AC system is sealed. It should never lose refrigerant on its own. So if it's low, something is leaking. And that single fact is exactly what the entire recharge kit industry has built its business model on not telling you. Let's get into the 5 products doing that right now. Stop leak in a can sealant recharge kits. Walk into almost any auto parts store or big box retailer during the first heat wave of summer, and you'll find an entire end cap dedicated to recharge kits that promise to recharge and seal leaks in one step. These are some of the fastest moving items in the automotive aisle every June and July. The pitch is irresistible. 1 can, no diagnosis needed, AC ice cold in 10 minutes, leak sealed for good. For a stressed out driver sweating through a heat wave with no time to get to a shop, it sounds like a miracle in a can. Here's what's actually happening inside that can. The sealant is a polymer-based compound suspended in the refrigerant. When it hits a leak point, usually a microscopic crack in a rubber O-ring or a pinhole in a condenser, it's designed to expand and harden, plugging the gap. The problem is physics doesn't care about your intentions. That same polymer that plugs a leak in an O-ring will also start coating the inside of your expansion valve, your orifice tube, and worst of all, the microscopic tubes inside your condenser and evaporator core, components with passages sometimes smaller than a millimeter wide. Independent. AC system teardown reports and technician case studies have documented this compound solidifying inside these narrow passages, causing partial or total blockages. In some documented cases, techs have found the sealant essentially cementing internal components together, turning a $150 leak repair into a compressor, condenser, and line replacement, because once the sealant sets inside those passages, it cannot be flushed out. The compressor itself, the single most expensive component in the system, absorbs enormous strain trying to push refrigerant through a partially blocked line, which is documented as a common cause of premature compressor failure in vehicles where sealant products were previously used. Worse still, that hardened residue doesn't stay put. It can break loose in small fragments later, months after the original application, and travel further downstream to clog a completely different section of the system than where it was originally applied. Here's the part that should really make you angry. Many shops, when they see a vehicle come in with a known history of sealant use, will not even attempt a repair. Some technician forums and service bay policies explicitly state that once sealant is detected in a system, often using a simple UV dye test or by feel when connecting gauges, some shops will refuse to service that AC system at all, because sealant residue can contaminate their expensive recovery and recycling machines that can cost tens of thousands of dollars to replace or decontaminate. So not only does the product potentially damage your car, it can make your car unfixable at some shops without you ever being warned about that risk on the can. Take a fairly typical situation reported in online forums. A driver with a mid-2010s Honda CR-V AC blowing warm on a summer road trip grabs a sealant-based recharge can at a gas station. A C works great for about 3 weeks, then it stops again, this time completely dead. No cold air at all. At the shop, the diagnosis isn't a simple recharge anymore. The compressor has failed, and there's sealant residue found throughout the low side of the system. What would have been a leak repair in the $150 to $300 range for a small O-ring or hose fitting turns into a compressor, accumulator, and orifice tube replacement. A repair that in real-world quotes commonly lands between $900 and $1,400 depending on the vehicle. So let's do the math. A can of sealant recharge costs somewhere around $15 to $25. It buys you, on average, a few weeks of cold air before the underlying leak reopens or the sealant migrates and clogs something downstream. If it damages your compressor, and this is not a rare outcome, it's a well-documented one, you're now looking at 10 to 20 times what a proper leak repair would have cost in the first place, and some shops won't even take the job. That is not a repair. That is a $20 bet against a $1,200 loss, and the odds are not in your favor. Low-grade bulk recharge kits with no dye or detection additive. Not every bad recharge kit contains sealant. A huge chunk of the products on the shelf are simply straight refrigerant, sometimes with a lubricant blend, sometimes not, with zero leak detection additive included. These are usually the cheapest option in the aisle, and they're marketed purely on price. Biggest can, lowest number on the shelf tag. The problem with these isn't that they damage your system directly, the problem is what they don't do. Remember what we said earlier, your AC is sealed. If it's low, there is a leak. A no additive recharge kit puts refrigerant back into a system that is actively leaking, with zero way for you, or even a technician later, to find out where that leak is without expensive dedicated leak detection equipment. You are refilling a bucket with a hole in it and walking away. Refrigerant itself is not cheap once you look at it per pound wholesale, and every recharge without fixing the underlying leak is refrigerant straight into the atmosphere. Refrigerants like R134A have a global warming potential rated at over 1,300 times that of CO2, which is precisely why the EPA has phased down its production, and why replacement refrigerant HFO1234YF systems cost significantly more per recharge. Here's the part that gets people. Many of these bargain kits are sold in packaging almost identical to name brand recharge kits that do include UV dye or stop leak-free detection additives. Same red can design language, same size, same shelf placement, sometimes even sitting directly next to each other. The only difference is a small line of text on the back listing contents. Retailers stock both because both sell. Nobody at the register is going to stop you and explain the difference. A common pattern reported by independent shops. A customer brings in a vehicle that's had 3 recharges in 2 summers from the same bargain no-dye can, each time from a different gas station because it was on sale. By the time the vehicle reaches a shop for an actual diagnosis, so much refrigerant has leaked out and been replaced over time that the system has run low enough, long enough, to cause lubricant starvation in the compressor. Compressors rely on refrigerant oil circulating through the system to stay lubricated, and running low for extended periods is a documented cause of premature bearing wear inside the compressor. 2 to 3 recharges a summer at roughly $15 to $20 each doesn't sound like much, maybe $45 to $60 a year. But stretch that over 3 summers with zero leak ever found or fixed. Add a compressor that's now worn from running low repeatedly, and you're looking at a $150 to $180 spend that bought you nothing permanent, on top of a compressor replacement bill that can run $600 to $900 with labor. You didn't save money, you paid for the privilege of ignoring the problem 3 summers in a row. Recharge kits with incompatible refrigerant blends for your vehicle's system type. This one is less about a bad product and more about a mismatch that shelves at retail stores make dangerously easy to create. Since 2015, automakers have been transitioning new vehicles from R134A refrigerant to R1234YF, a newer, lower global warming potential refrigerant required by updated EPA and international regulations. Both types of cans sit on shelves, sometimes in the same aisle, and the fittings can, in some documented cases, be adapted with universal connector kits sold separately. Mixing refrigerant types or using a can meant for one system on a vehicle designed for the other is not a minor mismatch. It's a documented safety and mechanical hazard. R1234YF is mildly flammable under specific high heat conditions, which is precisely why manufacturers engineer very specific system components, seals, and safety features around it. Introducing the wrong refrigerant type into a system or using aftermarket universal adapter fittings not engineered to the vehicle manufacturer's spec has been flagged in industry technical bulletins as a source of seal degradation, incorrect system pressures, and inaccurate pressure gauge readings during future service, because gauges in recovery machines are calibrated for one refrigerant type, and contamination confuses that calibration for every future service visit. Some universal adapter kits are marketed with language like fits most vehicles 2008 and newer, without clearly stating that most excludes an enormous and growing share of vehicles now running R1234YF systems. A driver reading that on a gas station shelf in a hurry, in the heat, has no realistic way to verify which refrigerant type their specific vehicle requires without looking it up, and the packaging does not make that lookup easy or obvious. Documented technician case reports describe vehicles brought in with contaminated refrigerant systems traced back to a driver using an R134A style universal kit on a newer R1234YF vehicle. Because the two refrigerants cannot simply be topped off together, a full system evacuation, contamination testing, and complete recharge with correct refrigerant is required, a service that, when contamination is confirmed, commonly runs in the $400 to $700 range. Once you include the specialized contamination-safe recovery equipment shops are required to use. A $20 universal kit that puts the wrong refrigerant in your system doesn't just fail to fix your AC, it turns a simple recharge into a full contamination decontamination service costing 20 to 30 times more, and in some cases requires the shop to use dedicated equipment reserved only for contaminated systems, adding both cost and time to get your car back. Recharge kits. that skip the pressure gauge entirely. A large share of consumer recharge kits are sold with either no gauge at all or a low-cost single gauge that only reads low side pressure, marketed with instructions like just connect and fill until the can is empty, or fill for the time listed on the can. This is arguably the most common way people damage their AC systems without realizing it, because overcharging is just as harmful as undercharging, and often worse. AC systems are engineered to operate within a narrow pressure range specific to ambient temperature, charging until the can is empty, rather than to the manufacturer's specified pressure for the current outdoor temperature, is one of the most commonly cited causes of overcharge documented by certified technicians. An overcharge system forces the compressor to work against excessive pressure, which is a well-documented cause of compressor clutch failure, and can, in more severe cases, cause a pressure relief valve to release refrigerant suddenly, or in rare extreme cases, cause physical damage to hose connections under excess pressure. The instructions on many of these kits actively encourage this exact behavior. Fill until can is empty is printed directly on packaging for products that hold enough refrigerant to significantly overcharge many smaller vehicle AC systems, which typically require far less refrigerant by weight than what's inside a full recharge can plus a backup can, which is exactly how these are frequently sold, as a 2-pack for best results. A frequently reported pattern among independent shops. A driver follows the empty the can instructions on a 2-pack recharge kit, gets ice-cold air for a day, and then experiences the compressor clutch cycling rapidly on and off, or the AC compressor engaging and disengaging every few seconds, a classic symptom of an overcharged system that the vehicle's own pressure safety switch is trying to protect against. Left unaddressed, this cycling behavior is a documented contributor to premature compressor clutch wear. A gauge-based recharge, done to the vehicle's actual specification, costs roughly the same $15 to $25 as a no-gauge kit. The difference is that one of them fills your system correctly, and the other one is a coin flip on whether you overcharge it and burn out a compressor clutch, a repair that commonly runs $250 to $450 for the clutch and labor alone. Miracle. Recharge kits with unlisted or vague additive packages. The final category covers a wide range of products marketed with vague, feel-good language. A C booster, max cool formula, performance recharge, where the actual contents of the can are described only in the broadest possible terms, and independent lab breakdowns of similar products have found undisclosed additive blends that don't match manufacturer-recommended lubricant or additive specifications for many vehicle systems. Modern AC compressors, particularly on newer vehicles, often use specific synthetic lubricant formulations like PAG oil at a manufacturer-specified viscosity, matched precisely to that compressor's internal tolerances. Independent testing and technician reports on multiple boosted formula recharge products have found lubricant additives that don't match these specifications, and in some documented cases, additive packages that included compounds with no established compatibility data for long-term use in AC systems at all. This is a system where the wrong lubricant viscosity is a documented cause of accelerated internal compressor wear. These products are frequently priced at a premium over standard recharge kits, sometimes 30 to 50% more, specifically because they're marketed as an upgrade. Consumers are paying more for a product that in independent testing offers no verified performance benefit and in some cases introduces lubricant compatibility risk that a standard, correctly formulated recharge kit does not carry. A widely echoed pattern in owner forums. A driver pays a premium for a Max Cool branded recharge expecting better performance than a standard kit, gets identical results for the first few weeks, and then experiences a compressor failure sooner than expected, with a subsequent shop inspection noting lubricant residue inconsistent with the vehicle manufacturer's specified oil type, paying a 30 to 50% premium, often an extra $8 to $12 per can, for a product that independent testing shows performs no better and may carry additional lubricant compatibility risk, is money spent for marketing language, not chemistry. That brings us to 5 products you should be walking past on that shelf. Now let's talk about what's actually worth putting in your cart. But first, before we get into the winners, quick gut check. If you've made it this far, and you're realizing your can of recharge might be one of the 5 we just covered, that's exactly why this channel exists. We go through every category people get scammed on, parts, fluids, brands, and break down what's actually inside versus what's on the label. If that's useful to you, subscribing means you catch the next one before it costs you, not after. Now that you know what to avoid, here's the good news. The fix isn't more expensive, it isn't harder to find, and it doesn't require any special tools. It's on the same shelf, usually a few inches away from the products we just covered. You just need to know exactly what to look for. Manufacturer correct. Gauge. Included recharge kits, switched from sealant-based kits. For drivers who switched away from sealant-based fix and fill cans, the upgrade is a recharge kit that includes a proper analog or digital low-side gauge. refrigerant that matches your vehicle's specified type, and clear instructions to charge based on ambient temperature and pressure, not until empty. What's underrated about this category is that it's not more expensive or more complicated than the bad options. It's the same price range, roughly $20 to $30, and takes maybe 2 extra minutes because you're actually reading a temperature to pressure chart printed right on the gauge instead of guessing. The only extra step is checking your specific vehicle's system type, R134A or R1234YF, which takes 30 seconds by checking the sticker under your hood or your owner's manual. UV dye leak detection kits, no sealant. Drivers who switched away from the cheapest no additive cans to a UV dye only recharge, critically, one that contains dye but zero sealant, get the best of both worlds. They can safely refill their system for the season, and if the leak comes back, a $10 UV flashlight sold in the same aisle lets any shop find the exact leak location in minutes instead of hours of diagnostic labor. Here's what's surprising. This simple addition of dye, and nothing else, is one of the single most technician-recommended additions in the entire recharge category because it turns a guessing game into a 5-minute diagnosis, and it does not carry any of the internal clogging risk that sealant carries. It's the same price as the no-dye version. There's genuinely no reason to buy the version without it. Professional vacuum and recharge service for repeat leaks. For drivers who've already recharged their own system 2 or more times in a single season, the real upgrade isn't a better can, it's switching to a proper vacuum and recharge service, where a shop pulls a full vacuum on your system to check for leaks via pressure decay, identifies the actual leak source, and recharges to exact factory specification using a machine that measures refrigerant by weight, not by until it feels cold. What's underrated here is the actual cost. A full vacuum and recharge service, done properly, typically runs $100 to $180 at an independent shop, which sounds like a lot compared to a $20 can, until you remember that a $20 can you've now bought 4 times this year alone is already $80, with zero diagnosis and the leak still there next summer. One properly done service often costs about the same as what most drivers already spend piecemeal on cans that don't fix anything. Step back and look at the bigger picture here. Because this isn't really a story about AC cans. It's a story about how an entire retail category has been built around a customer who's uncomfortable, in a hurry, and doesn't know what's wrong with their car. That combination, heat, urgency, and lack of information, is incredibly profitable if you're selling a product that doesn't have to work, it just has to feel like it worked for a few weeks. Nobody returns a $20 can 3 weeks later to complain that their AC is warm again. They just buy another one, or they finally go to a shop where the sealant residue from can number 1 might mean the shop can't even help them anymore. That's not an accident of the market. That's the business model working exactly as intended, at your expense, one hot July at a time. It's also worth noticing who benefits from you never learning the difference between these products. The store doesn't care which can you grab. Both ring up the same at the register. The manufacturer of the bad product doesn't care either, because their business model isn't built on you being a happy repeat customer for 10 years, it's built on you being back in that aisle in 3 weeks. The only person in this entire chain who actually loses when you grab the wrong can is you, standing in a hot parking lot wondering why your AC died again. So here's exactly what to do next time your AC starts blowing warm. First, before you buy anything, check your hood sticker or owner's manual for your refrigerant type, R134A or R1234YF. 30 seconds, done. Second, walk past anything labeled seal, stop leak, or fix, no matter how good the can looks. Third, pick a kit with dye included and a gauge included. No exceptions, even if it's a couple dollars more. Fourth, charge to the pressure chart based on today's temperature, not until the can is empty. And fifth, if this is recharge number 2 or 3 this year, stop buying cans altogether and get a proper vacuum and recharge diagnosis. You will spend less money finding the actual leak than you will feeding it cans all summer. Print this list, screenshot it, whatever you need to do, because the entire aisle is designed to be confusing in the moment. Standing there sweating with a warm steering wheel, and having these 5 steps in your pocket before you walk in is the difference between fixing this once and buying another can in 3 weeks. Here's the one thing to remember from all of this. Your AC system is sealed for a reason, and anything that's marketed to you as a quick, permanent fix for a sealed system that's suddenly leaking should make you ask, what is this actually doing inside my car, before you spend $1 on it. If you've had an AC recharge kit horror story, good or bad, drop it in the comments, because we read every single one when picking what to test next. And if you liked this breakdown, you're going to want to see the video we're dropping next, where we do this exact same teardown on car battery brands, because summer heat is quietly killing batteries faster than winter ever does, and almost nobody knows which brands are actually built to survive it.